Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. STICKERMANIA from Louisville, Kentucky. My director is sick today, and sticker granddaughter is sick today. Got my sticker grandson helping me out. We'll see if we can get through this. How you doing out there? Harry's Music Room at noon earlier today had a Beatles trivia question going against Mazzy, and Rachel's Ghost was the moderator. They had 25, Rachel had 25 difficult questions about the Beatles, and Mazzy got 17 of them right, and he was a winner. And I played along with them, and I sent a lot of messages through the chat. Me and Harry got 10 each out of the 25, and Mazzy got 17. So when it comes to trivia questions outside of Beatles memorabilia and Beatles vinyl, Mazzy must be the king. So congratulations, Mazzy, you knew your stuff. I got one right that nobody got. They asked who George Harrison visited in America. Where did he visit his sister in America before the Beatles came to America? And I got it right with Benton, Illinois. And Mazzy and Harry didn't know that one. The last question, 25, was a trick question, I guess. Wolfie Baby came up with a question. They asked which Beatle came up with the Hard Day's Night title. And the first one, and it was John Lennon in his book, In His Own Right. And of course, me and Mazzy and Harry all thought it was Ringo. They came up with the same. I got any messages there?
Yeah. We got Uncle Paul's Beatle Pop Playhouse.
You gotta sit down over there.
Yeah, let me sit down here. We don't need to be doctor anymore.
Sticker grandson's got Uncle Paul's shirt on. Uncle Paul's Beatles Pop Playhouse.
Go sub to him. Alright, but so we got messages from Uncle Paul's Beatle Playhouse. Yeah, he's sick. I said, come on, Travis. Hopefully he gets better. Records and Trains. Hey, Frank, how you doing? Let's see. Daniel Castillo, Frank, when is Rachel coming on as a guest?
We will get that. Try to do that within a couple months. Put Rachel. Me and Mikey Rugolo will have Rachel as a guest. That's a good idea.
And then we got a little Beatles corner.
The next one. How you doing, Patricia? The next one of our Every Little Thing Beatles is coming up next Wednesday, August. Let's get the date right, Frank. May 14th with Mikey Arugula and Uncle Paul.
All right, so a little Beatles corner. Hi, Frank and Sticker Grandson. Hello. Hope Travis and Ariana gets better. And then Thomas Crook. Sorry, everyone is sick.
Yeah, how you doing, Thomas Crook?
Let's see. Uncle's Paul's Beatle Pop Playhouse. 1 week from tonight, Playhouse will be live with you.
Yes, Yellow Submarine. There's going to be the... Give me my Yellow Submarine. I got a few Yellow Submarines in lately. From Joe Hilton, all three of those Yellow Submarines. Okay. Found this Yellow Submarine magazine, official Beatles magazine, in these scrapbooks I had the other day. And I got these from Joe Hilton, the 1968 Beatles photo album. It's got to be a pretty rare piece. And a sealed, the large size 1968 Beatles Yellow Submarine puzzle. All right, put those back for me. So that's going to be the theme next Wednesday, May 14th.
And then we got a couple more messages. Let's see. Wolfie Babies, Love and Records, hello.
How you doing, Wolfie Baby? You came up with a difficult question there for number 25 earlier today on Harry's Music Room. Good job.
Uncle Paul's Beatle Pop.
And one other thing about Wolfie Baby, he bought my Can't Buy Me Love picture sleeve that I showed a couple weeks ago. Hope he's happy with that. He spent a lot of money on that.
Uncle Paul's Beatle Pop Playhouse. The shirt, thank you. Dave Evans, hi Frank.
How you doing, Dave Evans?
Right now, so have a great evening. Thanks for the bad finger.
Badfinger, yes. Dave Evans. Going out to Dave Evans tomorrow. Badfinger, UK. It's I'm pretty sure it's a 4U. Let me check. It's a Porky Pecco duck. Well, that's cool. And it's a -1U Porky Pecco duck. First press, Badfinger straight up. Dave Evans bought that right away. Great way to hear the Badfinger album produced by George Harrison and Todd Rundgren from 1972.
Two more messages. Polly,
How you doing, Polly?
great job with Harry, Rachel, and Mazzy.
Yeah, they put me in the chat quite a bit, so I appreciated that. Mazzy said that I would beat him in Beatles trivia, but I would not. He's the king. If you want to talk about Beatles memorabilia and UK Beatles audiophile pressings, I might be able to beat him. But when it comes to regular Beatles trivia about facts that happened in the Beatles' career, Mazzy's the king.
And then last one, Uncle Paul's Beatle Pop Playhouse. Playhouse will be bringing, yes, only original memorabilia.
All right, from Yellow Submarine. A few other notes. The Paul McCartney flower in the dirt flower pot I had from the retired DJ on the East Coast sold for $100 the other day. And Perry Cox sold a couple white albums yesterday. One of them was a USA in the Shrink for $1,675. And he sold a UK mono top loader in excellent condition for $1,225. And the last Yellow Submarine, sorry Uncle Paul, but they're all gone now. The last Yellow Submarine 1968 jumbo stick-on store display. The seller had 9 of them. The last one sold for $950 yesterday. I don't know if Mikey Arugula got one of those or not. And yesterday, a set of 3 George Harrison signed hardback books from Genesis. One was I Me Mine, one was Songs by George Harrison Volume 1, and one was Songs by George Harrison Volume 2. A bundle deal. Somebody bought all 3 of them for $6,800. That's a lot.
We got one message from Records and Trains. If you could bring any musician back to life, who would it be?
Who would I bring back to life if we could bring one musician back? Well, of course, it'd have to be John Lennon in my book. Who would it be for you? All right, let's show what's on the table, and then we'll have some other notes later on.
We got a quick comment right here. Dave Evans, Frank decided the Badfinger is a George Peckham cut. Sure, it sound amazing.
It's a pork. Yeah, you asked me if it was a George Peckham duck. I think somebody did, but it does say Porky Pecco duck in the dead wax. I just checked. All right, this is part of these 8 scrapbooks I got the other day from. The girl was a avid Beatles female fan in Xenia, Ohio in 1964, 65, and 66. So she had pictures of the Beatles she took with her Kodak or Polaroid. I guess these are Polaroid pictures of the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. And she had pictures of, that's George Harrison on Shindig, late 1964. And that's George Harrison from the Rollover Beethoven from All Around the Beatles. So that's the way you did it in the old days. You took pictures right off the TV. Let's see, we'll stick with 64 first. these Beatle wrappers and cards. There was a whole scrapbook full of cards. 64, she went to the Hard Day's Night premiere. There's a picture in Xenia, Ohio, where they're lined up all around the block to go to the premiere.
Move it a little bit lower.
Like this.
Yeah.
And a nice Xenia, Ohio TV newspaper ad, August 26, 1964. They played it at 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Starts today, the Beatles, A Hard Day's Night. 1964, Mikey Arugula like this. A little piece of the sheets that the Beatles slept on at the Riviera Idlewild Hotel that was near the John Kennedy International Airport when the Beatles stayed there on September 20th and 21st of 1964. 64, right here. Parts of Beatles shirts that they wore. This is part of John Lennon's shirt he wore on stage at the Cincinnati Gardens on August 27th, 1964. Notarized on the back and signed by the promoter Dusty Rhodes. You know that Dusty Rhodes had to mortgage his house to bring the Beatles to Cincinnati, but he says it was a pretty good investment. He made money on his money. And a little fragment of Paul McCartney's shirt from the same show. And it says on these, it says, this is an authentic piece of shirt made expressly for the Beatles in Glasgow, Scotland, and worn by them on their American Beatles tour, summer 1964. This particular memento is from the shirt of John.
They should just have a little bit lower.
So these were WSAI, were the ones that brought the Beatles to Cincinnati. And this is another one of the DJs, Bob Harper. It's a postcard from him. And he says, "Hi, thank you so much for the note. You know that I don't like the song Ringo that much either. And something else, the Beatles will be back in July, 90% for certain. Love you, Bobby." This dated November 9th, 1964. And as you know, the Beatles did not come to Cincinnati in 65, but they did come in 66. Couple 1964 when she was a Beatles booster for Cincinnati, Dusty Rhodes. Marty was her name. And she was a member of the Beatles booster from Wing, W-I-N-G, in Dayton, Ohio. All right, one more. She had this, don't know how she got this, but a teen screen Beatles Guardian Angel, a ribbon.
Drop it a little bit lower, like there.
Never seen that before. And she wrote to George Harrison's mother, and George Harrison's mother sent her a letter in November 1964. November 30th is when this envelope is dated from
That's what I'm trying to do.
Liverpool, England.
A little bit lower.
Got 3 5-cent stamps on it. It says, "Dear Marty," and it has the address of Woolton, Liverpool on top of the letter, but this is her signature, and she made a little note at the end, and then she typed it out. "Dear Marty, sorry for the delay in answering your letter, but I receive many hundreds every week from all over the world. and have difficulty in replying to them all. The boys had just completed their English tour, and it was very successful. Now they are having a couple of weeks to rest, and they will really deserve it. Next, they start a Christmas show, and when it's finished, they will start a new colored movie. This will take 3 months. Best wishes, Louise Harrison. P.S. The U.S. press only print rumors to sell the papers.
I'm gonna flip this real fast.
So that's pretty cool.
I'm gonna flip this.
And she also sent Marty a little postcard, or a little
Hold on.
note. It says,
Wait, I'm trying to fix it. Hold on. This should fix it.
yeah. We're having a little difficulty.
There we go. Yeah, the director's not here, so I'm trying to take over. I've never done this before.
All right. So here's a little note she wrote to Marty. Happy Christmas and a Happy New Year, Louise Harrison. And the little part of George's jacket that he wore in 1961 has been lost over time. But that's what Louise would do when she sent these notes out. She would take old clothes of George Harrison and cut them up and send scraps to people that sent her letters. So that she was a dedicated, she did all she could to promote the Beatles. George Harrison's mother. And his sister, George Harrison's sister, Louise, her name was also Louise. She would call all the radio stations in the Illinois area before the Beatles came to America. Are you playing the Beatles? Are you playing the Beatles? All right, we got a couple of, here's a picture of Marty with her friends. They had a birthday party for one of the Beatles.
You gotta hold it right here.
Right there.
A little bit too. There you go.
All right, the rest of this is from 1966. The first show would have been August 13th in Detroit, Olympia Stadium. This is pretty cool. An ad that came out from a newspaper. Welcome Beatles. WKNR presents the Beatles tomorrow. Olympia, 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. So I guess Indianapolis wasn't the only place where they did 2 shows. Maybe they did several of them. But in Detroit, they played 2 shows. 2 o'clock in the afternoon would have been pretty early for the Beatles to perform. And here is a ticket stub from that show. It was $5.50. August 13th. This was for the evening show, 7 p.m. There's a picture of the fans, the Beatles during the press conference, and this even has a Kodak photo of the banner of the marquee at the Olympia Stadium that day. And it says the Beatles plus the Circle and Ronettes, the Remains, and Bobby Herb. August 13th, 2 and 7 p.m. And then she went to the Cincinnati show at the Crosley Field, the old Cincinnati Reds baseball stadium. And it rained out. This says August 20th, but it rained out that day, and they had to perform at noon the next day, August 21st, and then travel to St. Louis for the evening show. So they did 2 cities in the same day. You can see the program got some water damage. It was pretty wet that day. And there's the front page of the Cincinnati Post from the day before when it got rained out. It's Beatles night. And I think there's another fold out here all about the Beatles. The Beatles sign in for Cincinnati.
You gotta just lower it a bit and move it back. That might show.
That better.
Yeah. You can see all the faces on there.
And then it has the Beatles didn't even stay overnight in Cincinnati. They says the Beatles brush off disappointed fans. They got in their limo, got on a plane, and took off for New York City. So that's the highlights of the scrapbooks I went through.
We got a couple of comments, a couple of old ones.
All right, ready.
So, back to that question, whenever he asked you about what musician, and then you asked him who would he pick, Records and Trains, he said how do you say that? Stuart Sutcliffe?
Oh, Stuart Sutcliffe.
Oh, Stuart, okay. That's who he would say. And then Daniel Castillo said John Lennon over Buddy Holly.
Daniel would rather bring back Buddy Holly. I can see that too.
And then Daniel Castillo, not to be confused with Dusty Rhodes, the wrestler.
No, this is Dusty Rhodes, the DJ from WASI in Cincinnati. He's still alive. He still talks about bringing the Beatles to Cincinnati.
Jordan Teets, Flashpoint Live with Gene Bailey coming to Louisville, Kentucky on July 3rd. He's at the Bible study right now. He'll watch the replay. Love y'all in, what is that?
Where?
How do you say that? Right there. It starts with a Y. I have no idea, right?
I don't know. It's a Yesha.
And
Somebody would have to explain to me what Yesha is. All right, a few more notes here.
Thank you, Paul. Danley Goldstein. I wonder if the XD movie theater was destroyed in the 1974 F5 tornado that destroyed half of the city.
I don't know, but it could be. Xenia had a terrible tornado in 1974. You are correct.
All right, we're caught up.
Got this Beatles shirt in, large size, in new old stock condition. Got the black piping on the shoulder. Still has the original tissue and the backing cardboard in the middle of it there. It's up on my STICKERMANIA 2853 eBay store for $333, but it isn't going to last long because Annular and the Mexico Beatles group wants it. So if you want that on eBay, you better snap it up quick. Size large, 12 to 16, the only authentic Beatles shirt. You know that Johnny Carson showed a night shirt like this before the Beatles came to America. Boy, I don't know who's got one of those night shirts now. I don't know if Mikey Arugula has one of those, but those are rare as hen's teeth. Chapel Roan, a couple things about Chapel Roan, just for a second. She's number 2 in the UK, again with Pink Pony Club, number 6 in the USA. And she showed up at the Met Fashion Show the other day, and she had that big old gown on that two people had to hold on to when she went into the show. She has become a fashion model. I hope she doesn't forget she's going to start performing again May 30th in Warsaw, Poland. So I got another chapel sign, the rise and fall of a Midwest princess. She would only sign these in the early of last year for the VIPs that paid extra before the show. And this is pretty cool. She signed this when she was 20 years old, and she was on Atlantic Records and got dropped. This was for her School Nights EP. And she wrote To Lily, Love Chapel. So that was 7 years ago when she opened up in Memphis, Tennessee in 2018 for, can't say his name right, I'm not going to come up with a name.
You're gonna have to like do this. I heard it like this.
Alright, put it right there like that. What other notes about Chapel? I got a few other notes about some other artists. She's number 2 on the pop airplay chart again with Pink Pony Club behind Kendrick Lamar. And the song that's really big now in the world is Alex Warren with Ordinary. Number 1 in the UK, number 2 in the United States. And Chapel's also going to be featured in the new W magazine wearing many different outfits.
Little Beatles corner just mentioned that there is a Beatles, there's a Chapel Roan magazine out, saw it in the library.
All right. Can you believe this? Roger Daltrey last week in Wolverhampton, England, refused to play Pinball Wizard. Instead, he played Dazed by the Kinks. Can you imagine if Paul McCartney refused to play Hey Jude or some of the Live and Let Die? That would not go over well. Roger Daltrey says he's played Pinball Wizard too many times. But it was a solo performance, so I guess you got to give him a break. But he refused. A lady up front kept yelling for Pinball Wizard, Pinball Wizard. You got to play Pinball Wizard. He finally told her to F off. A couple Led Zeppelin notes. Jimmy Page and Led Zeppelin are being sued by over the Dazed and Confused in the Becoming Led Zeppelin movie, that they didn't give credit to Jake Holmes on the 2 times they performed Dazed and Confused in the movie, and he's suing them for $150,000 for each infringement plus damages. And there's a new video that's been out for a while by a family. They're 11 to 15 years old. They're called the Mission Souls. And they do Whole Lot of Love. Can you imagine an 11-year-old boy drummer? And the 3 sisters are 13, 14, and 15. And they do a great song of Whole Lot of Love. You should check that out. One other note about Led Zeppelin. When they came to America, before they came to America to get a deal with Atlantic Records, Peter Grant and Jimmy Page negotiated with Atlantic Records. Do you know they got twice the royalty rights per each album that the Beatles got? So instead of getting 7.5 cents for every album they sold, Led Zeppelin got 15 cents. And when they did Swan Songs, their own record label through Atlantic, they got 30 cents an album. So Peter Grant negotiated Led Zeppelin like no other group in rock history to get them the most money. And when they performed in concert, they got 90% of the gate, where I think the Beatles only got 50 or 60%. So Peter Grant, and Jimmy Page, they knew what they wanted. They controlled them. That's why everybody keeps thinking, why isn't there Led Zeppelin reissues? They make so much money on the albums that are already sold, and Jimmy Page is, the guitars he has in his vault is worth who knows how many millions of dollars. What other notes I had about? Let me finish this Led Zeppelin. This Led Zeppelin 2 in the first 8 weeks in the United States sold 4 million copies. Overtook Abbey Road on top of the charts. Led Zeppelin was on a roll. Peter Grant made it where the only way you could experience Led Zeppelin is you had to go see them in concert or you had to buy the album. They did not release any singles in the United Kingdom. Those were my Led Zeppelin notes. All right, go ahead.
All right. So Uncle Paul's Beatle Pop Playhouse says Sabrina Carpenter looked beautiful at the Met Gala as well.
Yes, she did.
Ivan Music Man, do you like Pink Floyd?
Do I like Pink Floyd? I like Dark Side of the Moon. I'm not a big I don't know the whole Pink Floyd catalog. I studied too much the Beatles.
Thomas Crook. Rumor has it that Who are going to do another farewell tour.
They'll go until they can't go no more. But I guess Zach Starkey will be playing drums.
Let's see, Danny. Oh, he was commenting.
Just got this record store day release finally in the box set. The real hard to get Oasis 4 LP colored vinyl, a box set of all their greatest hits. I said that 2 songs of Oasis are already over 1 billion streams. Wonderwall and Don't Look Back in Anger. Don't Look Back in Anger, in my opinion, is about as close to a Beatles hit as you can get.
Records and Chains. How much is the first pressing of the self-titled Bad Company album worth?
Bad Company album, it was on Swan Songs. I think I sold one with the hype sticker before for $100. Is that all my notes? I think so. I'll just show some things. You got any questions on things? I showed this Let It Be box set before. I don't want to open it up again. It's too fragile. But somebody on eBay just put one up that's sealed. So maybe they did seal these in 1970. And they got $3,000 on it. Factory seal, 1970, May, UK, Let It Be.
Ivan Music Man.
So mine for $1,000 seems pretty cheap compared to that. And I do have the original poster they gave away with some at the store counter in 1970. They advertised the other Apple artists. What's the question?
Alright, so Ivan Music Man was saying that he found many copies of Led Zeppelin records on Iceland pressing. Very good.
All right.
And then,
Ivan, how you doing there, Ivan?
3 more comments. Daniel Castillo, they might have sealed it if it was imported.
Yeah, that's because they did bring over imports to New York and big towns, and they would factory seal them. That was a Gem Records that did that.
Johnny Ramone, I bring back Lennon, Jimi Hendrix, Keith Moon, and the Ox on bass for a rock and roll band.
The Ox, that's a John I'm not gonna say his name right. Eswile from the Who, the bass player.
And then Danny Goldstein, please show the second stereo, but butcher up close if you can.
Yeah, there's a lot of debate on this.
Let me make sure you got it right.
This is $3,000 firm.
A little bit like this way.
I know you're worked up about the yellowing here on this edge, but that's on the factory shrink. I'm not going to pull it back because it's sealed pretty good. I mean, the shrink's on there good with the 2 breathe holes here. But this album cover is 59 years old.
Lower it low.
Even Perry Cox, when he sells those things for so much money, they all have a little bit of foxing on there. If it didn't have any foxing on it at all, it would not be authentic. So if you move that shrink right there, that yellow will move with the shrink. It is not on the cover. Number 2, East Coast Scranton. $3,000 firm with an excellent condition matching East Coast record and the goldenrod inner sleeve. There's the edges. It's perfect spine. You don't find second state butcher covers too much like that. Can't be too many left in the world. You know that I'm only about 70 subscribers away from getting to 2,500. Got quite a lot of subscribers this week, so we'll be giving away this West Coast peeled stereo that I won at the Fest for Beatle fans in New Jersey.
Johnny Ramone typed the name. I'm not going to try to pronounce that because I'm going to say it wrong. If you want to try to say that.
Johnny Ramone, where?
Right there.
John Entwistle. Did I say it right? Gregory Field will give me a lesson in pronunciation.
Daniel Castillo.
Joey rhymes with Holland. Joey Mullen, not Joey Malone.
Daniel Castillo, surprised Mikey hasn't bought the butcher steak, second steak.
Well, he bought the one from me for $1,400 at Fest. The one I had the mono, that I had the pink interior. So Mikey's got a second steak. Mikey wants a first steak now. But my first steak is a little too expensive for him.
Ivan said nice. Daniel Goldstein, the corners are great. No seam splits from what I see.
No seam splits.
Records and Trains, Ray Charles or Stevie Wonder?
Well, Stevie Wonder's still with us. That makes no sense. All right.
Maybe he's saying which one's better. I don't know.
Oh, which one's better?
Maybe that's what I'm guessing. Maybe.
That's a toss-up for me. I know Daniel will like Ray Charles. Daniel says that Ray Charles is a more all-around talented musician than Paul McCartney, and we agree to disagree on that one. Here's another white album I have from Rutherford Chang from the year 2010. They only made 800 of these, were pressed. And this is up on my, show my STICKERMANIA, my eBay store. It's on my eBay store, STICKERMANIA 2853. So he kind of combined a lot of white albums that he had to make that cover. And supposedly on the records, he had 99 white albums playing at the same time. And that was all right at the beginning. But as you go on, it became a mess on the sound on this. But that's pretty rare. He's no longer with us. And that's on my STICKERMANIA 2853 store at $400. And there's the poster that came with it showing all Rutherford's white albums he had.
Oh, the comments disappeared.
He wanted a numbered white albums, and he liked them better if they had an artist put some drawings on them. All right, let's put that away. Lunchbox. Let's talk about the Beatles lunchbox and what can happen on eBay. So you know I said that this lunchbox, I need something to put it on. I don't think I have any bubble wrap in there. I'll just put it on this Oasis box set for now. My Beatles lunchbox I sold for $2,700. The story on this goes, several weeks ago, somebody sent me a message because I had the thermos and the brunch bag, and I had all three of them up for sale on eBay. And he says, what would it take if you separate that and sell me the metal lunchbox? I said, well, I'll make a deal on you for $2,700, a near mint C9 condition Beatles lunchbox, Aladdin, 1965. He says, well, it's going to take me a few days to round up the money. I said, okay, well, you let me know when you get it together because you only have 1 hour. After you buy something on eBay, you only have 1 hour to pay for it. That's the new rule on eBay. So he messaged me that he had the $2,700, and then I sent it over. He got it in 2 days, and then he sent me a message that he couldn't understand why the thermos wasn't with it. I said, well, look at your messages. You asked for the metal lunchbox. That's what this is. And then I said that I would give him a deal on the thermos so he would have the whole set, and he said he was tapped out. So he sent it back to me overnight express. I got it in 1 day, and I sent him a refund. But that's crazy that you ask for the metal lunchbox and then you get upset. And on my listing, all I had was the lunchbox. But the thermos was not in the listing. But luckily I got it back in good condition and put all 3 of these back up again for sale. I think I'm going to put the brunch bags separate from these two. Sell these for $3,200, the 2 together, and sell the brunch bag for $500. All right, let's put all that away.
Daniel Castillo, wow, that rule is going to change the game. Didn't it used to be 72 hours?
It used to be 70. It used to be 3 days, but now it's 1 hour. When you buy something on eBay, there's a clock that starts at 59 minutes, and it's counting down 59 minutes you have to complete your payment. eBay's not messing around no more. All right, let's show those action figures. We didn't show those last time. From the Florida Blackwell Clearwater Estate. I forgot to show these after I opened them up. These are on eBay for, I think I sent out an offer of $177. But if you want to buy these through my YouTube, give me my YouTube channel. You want to buy that straight through my YouTube, I'd sell this for $160 shipped. Mr_STICKERMANIA at yahoo.com.
Daniel Castillo said,
So these are from 2003 Spawn. Nice cartoon figures. They're all in new old stock condition. The hardest package to keep from getting damaged is Ringo because he's got the drum set in there. All right, be careful putting those down there.
All right. Daniel Castillo said eBay is going to see the sales dry up now.
I don't know. eBay still, you're selling to the world. As long as Perry Cox is on eBay, I will be on there too. Sergeant Pepper is going to show some things to finish this off. You got any other questions? Sergeant Pepper, a 1968 second pressing stereo from United Kingdom. A real nice cover, laminated cover. There's the spine right there. In record, excellent condition. Let's hardly play. There's one little mark on side 2. Side 1, you don't see any play wear at all. What's cool, that's my Beatles for sale. And how you know this is a 68 pressing, it doesn't have the psychedelic inner sleeve. It has a patent, and it has no Kentucky or K. What do you call the tax stamp is not on the label. But this is a -1, all true tube cut stereo pressing of Sergeant Pepper made from the original metalwork. Got the original cutout sheet. But that cover is sharp. How you know you got original Sergeant Pepper's? It has to have these flaps there on the top. In the 70s, those flaps weren't on there anymore. Let's see, I showed the bad finger.
Let's see. Elliot HSU, does the whole family have a Butcher album?
The whole family does not have a Butcher album.
Brad Parnell.
Brad Parnell, we've been missing you for a while. I see you get on 2 legs.
Yeah, he said I missed you last week because I was on my friend's live and showing off some of my stuff.
All right. You and your ukulele. Way to go, Brad Parnell. I missed meeting you at the store when I worked at the grocery store.
And then Elliot SSU, did Sgt. Pepper ever come with a inner sleeve with the lyrics?
Inner sleeve with the lyrics? Nope. The psychedelic inner sleeve did not have lyrics. Lyrics are on the back of the cover. Sgt. Pepper never came originally with a inner sleeve that had lyrics on it.
Greg is my hero. He's talking about the cartoon figures. Those. Will you take 100 for the 4 cartoon figures?
I will not.
The eBay fees?
I will not. Thanks for the offer, though, Greg. Got this in another BBC gramophone library of McCartney. You got the checkout there when you belong to the BBC gramophone library, and it looks like 10 people check this out. And the record, I played it today. It's in very good plus condition. It's got a BBC gramophone library stamp on the label. And this pressing is a 3U pressing. So instead of a 1970 pressing, this is probably a 1972 pressing.
Wolf Baby's Living Records. Frank, are original Sgt. Pepper widescreen significantly rare?
What is it?
The Sgt. Pepper widespreads.
The white spine is real rare on a Sgt. Pepper. All right, the annular and the Mexican guys on my old tube cut. They want the original. They want the 68 pressing on the Parlophone label that's got sold in the UK on one side, on side 2, but doesn't have it on side 1. It's all -1, audiophile pressing tube cut of Beatles for Sale. My favorite Beatles album. And you got the 1968 inner sleeve with Sgt. Pepper on there, and Scaffold, Paul McCartney's brother. I thought there was a Pink Floyd album on there, but there's not. Oh yeah, there is. Right down there's a Pink Floyd album. So they're gonna buy that one. So this is the other one I have from 1970, and it's a -1 also. And if you haven't heard a true tube cut from the original metalwork on Beatles for Sale -1, you haven't heard Beatles for Sale in all its true glory. And this has a 1970 inner sleeve with Let It Be on there. Sgt. Pepper, Abbey Road, the Hollies, and a McCartney in a Cilla Black. That's my Beatles for Sale moment. But I do like Hard Day's Night a lot also. I have a Hard Day's Night right here. That's a -1, old tube cut from the United Kingdom, 1964. And it's on my STICKERMANIA 2853 eBay store at $100. It's got sold in the UK along the label on both sides, and it's a -1. Got the original polyline inner sleeve from Ematex.
Ariana said hello. Ariana here.
How you doing, Ariana? You getting any better?
Greg said.
That's Sticker granddaughter.
Let's see. Greg said save the eBay fees when possible.
I do sometimes.
Elliot HSU.
eBay fees aren't $60.
Elliot said, did Rubber Soul come with the inner sleeve, or was it just a Capitol record? 66 sounds, great inner sleeve.
Rubber Soul came with the. I think it was before this. I think it was a brown sleeve, where this is the butcher cover, because the Rubber Soul was several months before. I have the 65 inner sleeve in the other room that Rubber Soul came with. The later pressings of Rubber Soul would have come with this goldenrod inner sleeve.
Elliot said, I was never really into Beatles for sale, but I should really take a deeper listen.
You should. You're missing out if you don't listen to an all tube cut Beatles for sale stereo. It's one time they actually mixed the stereo albums right, instead of the ones that Help and Rubber Soul had that panning, where the Beatles for sale doesn't have that so much. All right, butcher cover that I peeled. This is on my eBay store. STICKERMANIA 2853.
Lower it a little bit.
Stereo. Then it's I've sent out offers for $14.44. And that's the trunk slick I took off of it. Trunk slick took me about 40 minutes to get that off of the cover. And then there was nothing but another layer of paper and glue that I had to get steam off of it.
Brad Parnell, Beatles for Sale is awesome, especially when you add the single I Feel Fine / She Is a Woman.
Yeah, if I Feel Fine, She's a Woman, if that could have been on Beatles for Sale. But you know, in the United Kingdom, the Beatles did not want their singles on the albums. They're kind of... Led Zeppelin did it different. They had their singles on their albums, but they didn't want them released as a single. They wanted people to experience the whole album. It was different for the Beatles here in the United States. In the mid-60s, it was a singles market. But then Sgt. Pepper and the White Album helped change that all. And then Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin broke the door wide open with having complete album. Here's another item that my Mexico buyers want to buy. This is the sealed Laserdisc single of Once Upon a Video, and they like this easel from the United Kingdom, 1987, of Once Upon a Long Ago. This would have been in a record store in England in the late 1980s.
All right, we got a bunch of comments.
Okay.
So Greg said, no science to the parlophone inner sleeve, is there? No science to the parlophone inner sleeve, is there?
They started off with Imitex, and then later on they went to the one that advertised other albums.
Daniel Castillo, the 68 pressing is not bad, but the 64 pressing with Kansas City on the label is the one to get. Let's see.
Yeah, but if you have a -1 Beatles for Sale from 68 or 1970, they're using the original metalwork that pressed the 1964 Beatles for Sale stereo. And it's a lot easier to find a near mint 1968 and 1970 pressing than it is to find a 1964 pressing that were all wore out by the cheap stereo equipment turntables we had back then. That's what the inner sleeve looks like in the late 60s. And then I showed you the other ones from the early 60s.
With Babies, Love and Records, Frank, played my 69 UK -1, Beatles for sale the other day. Even my dogs were visibly startled at the sound quality.
So were you happy with that? I played that Beatles for sale -1 the other day, and it's like the Beatles were right in the room. And Beatle Don, Mikey Arugula's buddy, he had a -1 on the second side, and he said George Harrison's finger picking and their harmonies were just unbelievable on that pressing I sent him.
Let's see. A little Beatles corner. What price are you asking for the Louise Harrison's letter?
Louise Harrison's letters. I would sell both of them. Where are we at? I think I put it all away.
It was one of like the first things you saw.
Right here.
All right.
You would get the envelope and both of these letters by Louise Harrison for $400. That is the price. So if you're interested, get a hold of me. Give me my Mr. _ STICKERMANIA. The other one. Yeah. If you're interested in those Louise Harrison signed letter and postcard, Mr. _ STICKERMANIA at yahoo.com, $400 shipped. That was the highlight of all the scrapbooks.
Let's see. We got
Rubber sole. Here's what a inner sleeve for Greg. What an early 60s inner sleeve looked like. It says Ematex. Take care of your micro groove records. Check your gramophone stylus regularly. Use Ematex cleaning cloth to preserve your micro groove records. Obtainable at all good record dealers. That's my rubber sole. Hazel Yardwood -5, -5. I have 2 of them now. This one's a little better shape than the other one. Very good plus. Even Michelle plays pretty good. And the price on that rubber sole is $200 shipped. And I show everything.
Greg said met Louise at Capitol Records on George Harrison's birthday Walk of Fame star. A sweetheart.
Yep. Got an Abbey Road. UK first press Abbey Road with a black inner sleeve. And it's got the apple is in the right position there on the back. Very good plus condition. The price of that Abbey Road is $150 shipped. -2, -1. No Her Majesty on the label. I think I showed about everything.
Daniel Castillo said, mine's in great shape, thankfully, and grateful I got it at a reasonable price. I'm guessing he's talking about the album he was talking about earlier, the 64 pressing. I don't know.
Beatles for sale?
I'm guessing that's what he's talking about.
Probably. That's pretty amazing if you have a stereo first press of Beatles for sale in really good shape from the United Kingdom. So this was in the scrapbook. I thought it was different. This is was in the newspaper Detroit Free Press, Thursday, October 23rd of 1969. The Beatle Paul mystery as big as rock music itself. And then you got big old full page. Paul McCartney to be or not to be. That's when everybody was confused, when all the Paul is dead rumors were all over the place. Abbey Road, to finish this off, we got this sealed. I sold my other 2 sealed CDs that were pressed in West Germany today. My Please Please Me and Revolver. This is the only sealed one I have left in the long box. Abbey Road. This is not a West Germany pressing. This is a USA pressing. It is on my STICKERMANIA 2853 eBay store. And I'm surprised I haven't sold my Columbia House Tape Club audiophile pressing yet of Led Zeppelin 4 Zosa. The way you want to hear Led Zeppelin Zosa.
We got a couple more.
So Stairway to Heaven was released as a single in the United States. Led Zeppelin didn't like that, but they gave in. But it was never released as a single in the United Kingdom.
Wolf Babies, Loving Records, extremely happy. So
What is it?
Whenever you was, she was talking about the 69 UK -1 Beatles facility. She said she's extremely happy with it.
Who is?
Wolf Babies.
Wolfie
Loving
Baby.
Records.
Wolfie Baby, how you doing there?
Let's see.
Great job on helping out Rachel. That was a great, surely helped Harry's Music Room, that trivia question hour earlier today. If you haven't checked that out, check it out. Mazzy's on fire.
Records and Trains. Have you ever ran into an early 1960s Beatles promo?
1960s Beatles promo, yeah, I got some from the retired DJ in the New England area, and I sold them right away there on eBay. I had a Beatles 6 promo, I had a Help promo. I had where it has the promo drilled or free drilled in the right-hand corner, and I had a Yesterday and Today that had a military export only sticker on it.
Greg said Capitol Industries love to advertise the album covers at their stable is not 64 to 66.
Yep. They're advertising all the easy listening on one side, Barbara Streisand, Nat King Cole, Peggy Lee, Al Martino, and Sammy Davis Jr. on the other side, Beatles and Seekers, David McCullum, The Letterman, Dean Martin, Judy Garland, Frank Sinatra. But the Beatles are all up there on the top. This the Butcher cover came out right between Rubber Soul and right before Revolver. That's why Revolver's not on this inner sleeve. And the Beach Boys. We can't forget the Beach Boys. All right, I think that's it from Louisville, Kentucky.
Greg says good night all, and then Johnny Ramone says, "What's Maz's YouTube?"
What's Mazzy's YouTube?
Yeah.
Norman Maslow. Norman Maslow is his YouTube channel.
Norman, and then
We almost have 1 million views, and Mazzy has 10 million views on his YouTube channel. We'll be up to 1,000 videos here in a couple weeks. All right, I think that's it from Louisville, Kentucky. This was an experiment with Sticker Grandson, but we made it through it, and hopefully my son, the director, and Sticker Granddaughter will be back here for Saturday night where we'll do another giveaway with some trivia
we have
questions.
one more question by Elliot.
Yeah.
So he's basically asking why would I choose the peeled over the unpeeled? I'm thinking because he said so you peeled a butcher for 400 and then you sell them for more, but that's because the peel is worth more.
Well, it depends how good the peel comes out. If this was a perfect peel, it would be a $5,000 album, but it's not a perfect peel. But this is a perfect second state. So that's why this is worth twice as much as this.
How much?
But if this was a perfect peel, this would be 5,000 and this is 3,000. If that makes any sense.
And then he said, how much would it be regularly, like just by itself without the peel?
Let me show the first state. They keep asking about butcher.
All right, where's it at?
I gotta get it out of the closet.
All right, maybe so you don't mess these up.
All right, I'm gonna show you what a first state looks like. Since you keep asking about butchers. You got the first state. Excellent condition in shrink A little bit of corner wear down there. And that is $20,000. There's only about 150 of these in the world. First states that were given to DJs. And they were supposed to all be destroyed. Then you have the second state, where it was pasted over, and you can see the V-neck, Ringo's head, and his pant legs down there. You can even see John's head right over here. And then you have the third state peeled. So comparing a first state and a third state, you can see the difference. And there's a little different on the width too, because the third states were trimmed. So you can see how it hangs over a little bit there on the edge. 3/16 of an inch they were peeled. All right.
Everyone, thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching, and have a great week. See ya.
Hold on.